Good evening, everyone. We are going to call the regular commission meeting for the City of Deltona for Monday, May 3rd, 2021 to order. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Vila Vasquez.
Present.
Commissioner King.
Here.
Commissioner McCool.
Here.
Commissioner Ramos.
Present.
Commissioner Sosa.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bradford.
Present.
And Mayor Hersberg.
Here. And this evening, we're going to go ahead and turn the meeting over to Commissioner Sosa for the invocation and so forth.
Microphone.
There he goes. Mr. Nick Pisa is going to be giving our invocation. If everybody will please stand.
What a beautiful day in Deltona, huh, guys? Really. Let's get excited about being here tonight, for sure. And if you would, bow with me in prayer. Father, we thank you in Jesus' name that we have this awesome privilege to be here tonight, celebrating a beautiful city that we live in, Lord God, and looking forward to this meeting tonight and all the things that we're going to discuss, all the things that are going to take place, and all the things that are going to get approved and discussed. We're looking forward to that, Lord God. We're looking forward to your presence being here right now, Father God, as we invoke it, even now, through your Holy Spirit, by the name of Jesus Christ. And Lord, we just ask you right now to bless each commissioner up here tonight, our vice mayor, our mayor, and all the staff here tonight, Lord, as well, with great insight and understanding and your wisdom, Father God, to use it. And Father, we just want to praise you and thank you that the decisions that are made here tonight will be on the benefit and for the benefit of this city and for its community leaders and for surely each and every citizen, for sure. Lord, we thank you for the watchful eye that our city commission has over each one of us and their care for this city, their love for this city, especially for our mayor and our vice mayor as well. Bless these, oh God, as they continue on in their service. Give them your guidance and direction and your Holy Spirit to lead them. And we'll give all the praise to you, Father, as we do this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
If you please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Up next, I'd like to have Maya Egert from River Springs Middle School. She's an 8th grader. She's going to be singing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars
Thank you, Maya.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on to the beginning of our business meeting. Item 4 is approval of minutes and the agenda. We have November 30th of 2020, the regular commission meeting minutes.
Madam Mayor, so move.
Second.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Ramos, seconded by Vice Mayor Bradford. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Now we're going to go to the fun part of the evening, presentations, awards, and reports, and we've got quite a few today. So we're going to start out with the Superstar Student of the Month certificates for April 2021. And if you guys would please watch the video screen and take a look at this amazing video of our Superstar students. Congratulations to all the superstars for this month. The next item up, we have a proclamation for Lupus Awareness Month. Commissioner McCool, did you want to go ahead and read that one?
I would, and if Ms. Rodriguez is here.
Is anyone here for Lupus Awareness Month? Okay.
Okay, I'll go ahead and read it from here then, and then get it to Ms. Rodriguez. Whereas each year, and this has a special place in my heart, by the way, because I am a lupus warrior, and thank you, City of Deltona, for recognizing this on behalf of all lupus warriors. Whereas each year, the Lupus Foundation of America designates May as National Lupus Awareness Month to show support for the estimated 1.5 million Americans who have lupus. And whereas lupus is a cruel and mysterious chronic lifelong autoimmune disease in which the immune system is unbalanced, causing inflammation and tissue damage to virtually every organ system in the body, and whereas lupus can affect any part of the body, including the skin, lungs, heart, kidneys, and brain, no organ is spared. The disease can cause seizures, strokes, heart attacks, miscarriages, and organ failure. And whereas lupus strikes mostly women of childbearing age, no one is safe from lupus. African Americans, Hispanic Latinos, Asians, and Native Americans are 2 or 3 times more likely to develop lupus, a disparity that remains unexplained. And whereas lupus can be particularly difficult to diagnose because its symptoms are similar to those of many other illnesses, and major gaps exist in understanding the causes and consequences of lupus. More than half of all people with lupus take 4 or more years and visit 3 or more doctors before obtaining a correct diagnosis. And whereas only 1 new drug has been approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration specifically for lupus in 56 years, and the current treatments for the disease can have damaging side effects. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and commissioners for the city of Deltona, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2021 to be Lupus Awareness Month in Deltona, and urge each of our citizens to observe this month by educating themselves on the symptoms and impact of lupus, and to join with the Florida chapter of the Lupus Foundation of America in supporting programs of research, education, and community service. executed this 3rd day of May 2021.
Thank you. And next up, we have a proclamation for National Clerks Week. Commissioner Avila Vasquez, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, Providence, county, and international professional organizations, and whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and the City Commission of Deltona, do hereby recognize May 2nd through May 8th, 2021 as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend the appreciation to our municipal clerk, deputy city clerk, and staff for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the city of Deltona, executed this 3rd day of May 2021. And we'd like to present this to Joyce, Liz, and Bridget.
And the rest of the staff. Thank you very much. Commissioner McCool?
And I see that Ms. Rodriguez is here, so if she can come up, I'd like to present the proclamation for Lupus Awareness Month.
Can you turn the mic on? Thank you.
Okay. It means so much to me and the lupus community. It amazes me how important this is to even those who don't have lupus. We have so much support in the community, and I just really hope that one day there's a cure for this. And that's it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you for... Thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have proclamation for National Bike Month. Commissioner Ramos?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before I read the proclamation, I just want to make an announcement real quickly. Last week, Friday, the city of DeBerry unveiled a three-panel sign over at the Sunrail station, and it's kind of like just to promote for those visitors that are coming here about the southwest Volusia area of everything that we got going on. So good job with the trails. Whereas more than a century, the bicycles has been an economical, environmental, sound, and effective means of personal transportation, recreation, and fitness, and whereas the bicycle is recognized as a legitimate roadway vehicle and therefore is entitled to legal and responsible use of all public roadway facilities. I'm going to read that again because as a bike rider, I can tell you people don't realize this. The bicycle is recognized as a legitimate roadway vehicle and therefore is entitled to legal and responsible use of all public roadway facilities, except highways constructed to interstate standards. And whereas millions of people will experience the joys of bicycling through the month of May and throughout the year through educational programs, races, commuting events, trail bicycling, or just getting out and going for a bike ride, and whereas creating bicycle-friendly communities have been shown to improve citizens' health, well-being, and quality of life, reduce pollution and congestion, and whereas Bike to Work Day is always the third Friday of May, and Bike to Work Week is the week of Bike to Work Day, and whereas the encouraged use of bicycle benefits all citizens by improving air quality, reducing traffic congestions and noise that decreases the use of and dependence upon energy resources. Now therefore, we, the mayor and the commissioners of the city of Deltona, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2021 as National Bike Month in Deltona and encourage all residents to participate in local biking events executed this third day of May 2021, signed by our mayor, Heidi Herzberg. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the proclamations are all done, and so now we're going to have an update by the West Volusia Regional Chamber of Commerce. Sherry, is that John with you? Come on up.
So first, let me start by saying thank you, Mayor Herzberg and the commission for inviting us here. The mayor recently reached out to me and mentioned that one of the residents of Deltona didn't think there was a chamber of commerce in this community. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of back history of how we became the West Volusia Regional Chamber. And tonight I have our president, Gary Sturgeon, here, and John McFarlane is our vice president, and Victor Ramos is on our board as well. So back in 2008, the Deltona Chamber of Commerce was very active here in Deltona. I'm looking at my notes because I wasn't around then. The West Volusia Business Connection with Mary Moulet and the Deltona Chamber of Commerce, which had members such as Carlos Valderrama, Ann Plock, Denise White, and multiple others, came together because they saw a need to grow the Deltona Chamber of Commerce. So they moved forward. It took them a few years to come together, and in 2010, we became the West Volusia Regional Chamber of Commerce. This way, it allowed us to bring in all the businesses from the west side. We cover Deltona, DeBary, Lake Helen, Orange City, Enterprise, missing one, DeLand, and Pearson. So we cover 7 cities over here on the West Volusia side. 3 years ago, in 2017, up until that point, our board had been running this chamber as volunteers while working their own businesses. And thank God for volunteerism. I mean, it's what you all do. It's what the community is made up of. But they realized that it was getting bigger than what they could handle, so they hired their first executive director, which was Sherry Simmons. Since then, I was hired back in February last year as an admin, and in January was named as the new executive director, and my name is Sherry DeCrenza. We are moving forward. We're planning so many great things, and even though our office is in DeBary, we are so ensconced in the community of Deltona. This past year, Deltona has shown myself so much love. Deltona TV has invited us in to have chamber talks. We are having numerous events at the center at Deltona. One of the events coming up is our First Responder Valor Awards. This will be the 3rd awards ceremony. It's going to be maybe not quite as big as last year because we are still trying to stay within some limits. But with the center at Deltona being so big and beautiful, we're able to space out and allow that to happen. We're going to be giving 42 awards out, whether it be gold, silver, bronze, or life-saving. Pretty much almost every department in West Volusia is being represented. As well, we're actually bringing in Ormond and New Smyrna this year because they were involved in cases along with the Sheriff's Department. Next year, our plan is to bring all Volusia County first responders to the center at Deltona, and this will be a West Side celebration because there's different types of celebrations, but not full first responders, so we want to take over the whole county and make it a Deltona celebration. We also have our legislative luncheon coming up. I am so proud to say that It started off as a breakfast, but we realized another chamber was having it at the same time, so we switched it to a luncheon. Within 48 hours, I had every city represented. We have 5 to 7 different mayors, chamber or council members, state representatives. Right now, I think we're at about 60 people attending this luncheon, so we're super excited about that. We also do different events throughout the years. We have different groups. We have the Willow Women's Group. We have the Junto Men's Group. We're always looking for volunteers, and we're looking for ideas. We obviously want to continue to grow, and that is our goal. Right now, I would love to announce that, we couldn't do all this without the help of our sponsors. We've been really blessed and lucky to bring on some bigger companies, but the small companies are just as important because 98%, I think, of our businesses here are made up of mom and pops and one-shop owners, and that's so important to our community, right? But I did want to mention that, our premier sponsors include Advent Health, Halifax Health, who is our presenting sponsor for the Valor Awards, Duke Energy, Suncoast Credit Union. They're very, very involved here. They love Deltona. Central Florida Home Pros, the mortgage firm. Without these companies, that's what keeps the chamber going. Because I think a lot of people think when they think of government, there's just this unending amount of money that, makes it all happen. And people don't realize that Chamber of Commerces are also a nonprofit. We don't sell anything, we don't buy anything, we just support our community. So the way that we're supported is when other businesses support us. I would encourage you all, any business in this area, please tell them about us. We really worked hard throughout this last year in the pandemic to try and reach out to our companies. In the past, certain Chamber of Commerce might have charged for an ad on Facebook, things like that. We did not, and we're still not, because we're trying to promote these companies, whether they need workers, and it's an advertisement for employment, or they just need, hey, we've got a special going on, because I don't want to see any businesses fail in West Volusia. It's really at my heart to make sure that everyone's still supported. So if you guys know of anybody who wants to come and talk to us, we are at the DeBerry Executive Center. John McFarlane and Peter have been gracious enough to support us over the past year because we had to cut corners just like every other company. And if it weren't for, like I said, great companies making sure we stayed afloat, that's what it's about, community. So once again, I just want to say thank you. And if anyone ever has any questions, don't hesitate to call us. Come by. We do AM Connections on Tuesday mornings at the Gateway Center. So just check in. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you guys coming out and all your support for our West Volusia communities and for Deltona as well. And we look forward to the Legislative Luncheon and the Valor Awards.
Very much so. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Okay, and following that, speaking of the Legislative Luncheon, next up for us is our very own representative for the Florida House of Representatives, District 27, our former Deltona City Commissioner, Mr. Webster Barnaby. Thank you for being here today, Representative.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for having me here today, Commissioners. It's a great honor to be back in my hometown of Deltona, and I want to bring you greetings from the Florida Legislature and greetings to all my fellow Deltonians. I am so honored and proud to be back in my hometown of Deltona, where I've been a resident since 1991. And it's my distinct honor to serve the people of House District 27 in the great city of Deltona. Mayor Hertzberg, I bring you good news, Commissioners. I've been in my first session in Tallahassee. We just balanced a budget of $101.5 billion. And that was quite incredible, a lot of zeros in there. And I'm grateful to have had an integral part in working in the State House, serving on the insurance, serving on the banking committees, serving on the Commerce Committee, serving on the Veterans Affairs and Public Administration Committee, serving on the Public Safety and Judicial Committee, serving on the Government Administration Committee. I've got my hands full serving on 6 major committees, but I'm honored to represent the people of Deltona. For years, I have represented thousands of businesses in the state, running my own business as a small businessman, I'm honored to be a father, and I'm proud of my wife and my children working here in Deltona. Most of you don't know my wife is the head of Quest Laboratories down on Howland Boulevard. I joke that I'm married to the head vampire, but she keeps me straight. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for having strong home, a strong relationship, knowing that my wife and my children love this city. And they're doing well. But I bring you some great news. I worked real hard for the city of Deltona, and I'm so honored to hear that this is Municipal Clerks Week. My great friend Joyce Raftery and her friends that work with her staff, some great news that I have is that when I was running for public office to the State House, my county clerk, Laura Roth, had called me and said, Webster, due to COVID, she had to lay off people. She had to lay off workers and furlough people at the clerk's office, and I was shocked. I said, I never heard of a clerk office having to lay people off. She said, well, due to COVID, people were not going to court, and part of the clerk's budget was the fees that people paid when they went to court, and also the traffic stops that law enforcement, when they would stop people for speeding and people would pay their traffic fines, all that monies would go towards helping the clerk of the court have a budget to pay their employees. Well, I promised Laura Roth, our county clerk, that if I got elected to Tallahassee, I would work hard to do something about that, to fix that problem. And I got to work in Tallahassee right away, and I immediately sponsored a bill that would remedy that problem, that would allow the clerk of the court to have a budget carved out of the trust fund that the clerks have at 16%. And lo and behold, it got through all the different committees that I presented it in. And not only did I get it passed in the House of Representatives, I got the senators over in the Senate to also agree and pass the bill, and now the bill is on to the governor's desk to be signed by Governor Ron DeSantis, who had me in his office last week, and he will be coming to the city, hopefully. He's coming to the county, but he will be hopefully coming to the city to do a bill signing of one of my first major bills. And I've only been in Tallahassee 5 minutes, but give me 5 more minutes. We're going to get a lot more good things done for the residents of Deltona. So that's the Clerk of the Courts bill, and that's House Bill 903 that was passed unanimously and awaiting the governor's signature. The other thing that I was so proud of is bringing home to Deltona the bacon, and that is the money, the moolah, as we say in Spanish, right? We need the moolah. Well, we did it. We got all of the appropriations that Deltona asked for fully funded, and that money will come back to the city of Deltona to help with the wastewater reclamation project that's needed. And I can guarantee you this is just the beginning of the things that I'm going to do to work with you, Mayor Hertzberg, and all of you commissioners sitting on the dais. You've got a fighter in me. Thank God that I've got the prerequisite experience to know how to navigate Tallahassee, how to build those relationships, to make sure that when we sponsor a bill, that bill does not die in committee, that bill goes through the House, and more importantly, that it also gets through the Senate. Politics is about legislative ability to understand how to make sure that you can navigate not just the House of Representatives, where there's 120 of us serving in the House, but there's also 40 senators serving in the Senate. Many times the senators are jokingly referred to as Somali warlords. That's because they have so much power, 40 guys over on the side of the Senate side, and we've got to know how to minutiae, how to work with people, and thank God that's what I've been doing for many, many years. How you get things done is through relationships. And in politics, it's all about relationship building. I thank God that I've got a great relationship with every single one of you on the dais here today, and want you to know that you've got my complete respect, and that Webster Barnaby will be working hard to bring home more of the bacon. That's not the end of it. One of the things that we got done was the high school athletic contest in the House. So at high schools, you're able to give a 2-minute remark at any high school game, whether you want to give an inspirational message or do whatever you feel comes to your heart. Our kids need to be inspired. My son played football for Navy for 4 years, and I've never seen a Navy game where they didn't give a 2-minute invocation at the Navy game. In fact, in the House of Representatives, every single session we open with a 2-minute invocation. If it's good enough for adults, it'll be good enough for our kids at a high school football game. So that bill did pass. Also, the public records application for de novo banking charter in the House. I serve on the House Banking and Insurance Committee. I think it's very important that we allow people to have banks to be opened up. I know that in my district in the city of DeBary, I don't know if you all ever noticed, but there's not one single bank in the city of DeBary. Did you all know that? Mm-mm. Okay, well, I'm going to fix that, because my de novo banking charter bill allows you to have an application for a bank. And if you are working at a bank right now, one of the biggest fears is that people working with the current bank, if the bank finds out that they're trying to open up a bank or trying to open up a credit union, typically their boss is going to fire them. Well, now your information will be kept secret until your application has been approved. Once your application has been approved, then it will be public records. So this just makes it a lot more easier for people to open up a bank or a credit union or a savings and loan. I feel it's very, very important, and it did pass the House and the Senate, and of course it's onto the governor's desk to be signed by the governor. Also, my bill, HB 1585, government accountability in the House, deals with the fact that there is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse in government. Too much waste, fraud, and abuse. This bill will ensure that the Solicitor General's office has more powers through subpoena to allow whistleblowers to come forward, and whistleblowers will be rewarded for blowing the whistle on departments of governments that's wasting the public dollars. Your money, your tax-paying money, should be spent wisely by government officials, and it should not be abused. So I'm proud to say that my bill on government accountability passed in the House. As I said, there are multiple appropriation projects that I was able to secure for Volusia County, for the city of Edgewater, and also for the city of Deltona, and I'm working on helping the city of DeBary and some of the other cities that are asking me for help. They can always come and ask me how to get it done, because there's more than 2 ways to get things done. And right now, thank God, we were able to get things done for the city of Deltona. So thank you, commissioners, for hearing my report tonight. I promise you next session I'll bring even more stuff back to the city of Deltona. I've just gotten started. I love what I do. I love serving people. I'm accessible. I'm open. You can call my office. My staff is here tonight. My district secretary, Hilda Quintero. She's a great help and a great asset. She's here tonight. Give her a round of applause. Hilda's a great help. And I just want to let you know that we're Team House District 27. We represent everything from New Smyrna Beach, Edgewater, Oak Hill, all the way through this beautiful city of Deltona into the St. Johns River. So from the Atlantic Ocean to the St. Johns River, that's what we represent, and we are proud and honored to do that for you, Mayor Hertzberg, and you commissioners. Do you have any questions for me?
Does anyone have any questions?
Mayor? Oh.
You are going to get rid of those yellow cones, right?
Absolutely, Commissioner. Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Vasquez. I appreciate it.
I know I see puzzled faces out there. They have these yellow cones that are horrible looking on Saxon Boulevard, and Representative Barnaby's going to get rid of them.
Well, I promise you faithfully, I'm going to speak to the Secretary of Transportation on that. Thank God he lives here in the city of Deltona. I visited his office in D-Land, and it's so important, as I said, to build relationships with people, because when I do call, they do pick up the phone. They have known to not avoid me. So thank God for that. No one's avoided me so far. All right, anyone else?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner McCool.
Commissioner McCool, and then Commissioner Ramos.
Thank you for coming to see us. I know that you've been busy since you were elected, and it's much appreciated. I will ask you to carry this on your heart and on your lips when you go back to Tallahassee, that we need more funding, we need more money in Deltona for substance and mental health issues. We do not have enough.
Yeah.
We do not have enough. And it's directly proportionate to our crime rates, and we need it here, especially post-COVID. They found it important enough to give us a little bit with CARES Act, but we need you to carry that on your heart. I know that you sit on these subcommittees, and relationship building is paramount, but we desperately need our mental health and substance abuse money back here in Deltona.
Let me just address that, Commissioner McCool. I'm so grateful that tonight I can report to you that the governor has increased the budget for substance abuse and mental health in the state of Florida. On the 17th of this month, I will be back in Tallahassee for a special session. The Seminole Indians tribe has agreed to give the state an additional $500 million every single year, and part of that $500 million is a carve-out, is money that I'm going to ask for to use just for that project, to bring more awareness, more mental health counseling, more substance abuse counseling. I can tell you on a personal level, there is something very important that's going to be happening in this area that's going to help with that I'm personally involved in with my local church. And you'll be hearing more about that as a city real soon. But absolutely, it is vital that we have the resources from the state and the resources from private stakeholders that will recognize that this is a major need. And I'm so grateful, and I know that many people have struggled with these different issues. They need the help, and we're going to be here to help them. We're going to be here to help them. Thank you, Commissioner McCool. All eyes are on me. We're going to help them. All right. Is there one more?
Did you?
State Representative, you said the city, but when you said the city, you meant city of Deltona, correct?
That's where I'm at today,
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Ramos. Thank you, sir. Well, we love you all.
Representative, thank you for coming, and thank you for your efforts. We know that it was a very, very difficult session for everyone.
Yes.
For those of us that go there, for those people that are in government relations, it was very, very difficult, and we really appreciate for your first term. You've done a great job, and thank you for always looking out for Deltona. We appreciate it. Thank you for coming, and come anytime.
Absolutely. My honor. Thank you all so much, and please reach out to my office. My office is located just conveniently for the whole district on Enterprise Road, 2730 Enterprise Road, right next to the tag office is where my district office is, and my office is open for anyone to come in, and whatever you need, we're here to help. We're here to work with the people for all these cities that we represent in House District 27. Thank you again, and God bless.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and move on to item 6, which is ordinances and public hearings. We don't have any of those this evening. So item 7 is old business, and we have item 7A. We have an add-on item, which is a request for approval for the salary increase for the acting city manager based on his satisfactory evaluations. Mr. Peters?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the last meeting, we had all the evaluation for me as outlined in my contract. We ran into a bit of a problem in that when Ms. Bradford made the motion to modify the contract to have 2 evaluations and $2,500 incremental increases with favorable evaluation, the city attorney recommended, and it was approved, to have an actual vote on the salary increase. In the last meeting, we did not have that vote, and I take responsibility because I didn't tell you you need to have the vote. So tonight, we're bringing it back for an affirmative vote that it was a satisfactory evaluation, and that in accordance with my contract, there would be a $2,500 increase in pay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioners, any questions?
So move.
Yes, go ahead.
Make a motion?
Go for it.
So move. So we.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Ramos, seconded by Vice Mayor Bradford. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public comment. And yes, oh, Commissioner King, you seconded it as well? Okay, properly motioned by Commissioner Ramos, seconded by Commissioner King, for the record, please. Okay, may we vote, please? Does everybody have, Vice Mayor does not have one up. Reboot. Nothing. Okay, and the motion passes unanimously. Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Next is new business. Item 8A is a discussion this evening regarding resolution number 2021-22, imposing a moratorium on all residential planned unit development applications from July 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. Mr. Peters, and did you want to take this one?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. We have had several contentious residential plan unit development rezonings over the last several years. And it had become quite apparent that the city needs to revisit whether it be the definition of an RPUD or whether it be the underlying zoning. And so what I am proposing is that we take a pause beginning July 1 through December to allow staff the opportunity to have several workshops with the commission to review how the process works, how the underlying zoning is supposed to work. To give you a for instance, Commissioner King on many occasions have made reference to the fact that the developers are in control of the RPUD process. And in reality, the way our code is written, they are. In many jurisdictions, a residential plan unit development is for the purpose of when a developer is proposing a development of multiple different kinds of residential, whether it be large lot subdivisions, smaller subdivisions, and then tiny lot subdivisions. The only way you can put all those together would be through the RPUD process. But the city process, it is pretty much up to the developer when they want to pursue the RPUD, with the exception of we have several overlay districts that do require PUD, and those are the only exceptions. So if you all wish to proceed in this manner, we will have an ordinance ready for you on the 17th of this month, following a second reading in June, but we're giving advance notice. What we will have in the ordinance is a requirement that any application before July 1 has to be a complete application. It can't be just an application just to get the foot in the door. It has to be a complete application ready to move forward to the Planning and Zoning Board. So that's going to be the major caveat as to whether a project can proceed prior to July 1. So with that, we're recommending that you all give us consensus to move forward with a moratorium and to allow time for us to, like I said, have workshops, have discussion, and put the necessary changes to our land use code. And the last thing it's important to note is because it's a land use change, that's why we have to do it in the form of an ordinance. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Commissioner Sosa and then Commissioner McCool.
I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
Okay. I move to approve resolution number 2021-22, providing for a moratorium on residential plan unit development applications beginning 1 July 2021 through 31 December 2021 to allow for the drafting and implementation of 3 new residential land use designations in the Land Development Code. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scriveners and errors and the like.
Before we second that, we are not doing a resolution, or do we have to do this resolution to move forward to the ordinances?
No, you can go directly to the ordinance. I think that's what...
and that's what we're going to do at the next commission meeting.
Peters was recommending that we do the ordinance, and it'll be available for your adoption at the next commission meeting.
So what I'm seeing this evening, we do not need a resolution to move forward to do an ordinance.
No, but you would need, he would need the direction, of course.
Yes, we will. Commissioner, would you like to revise that? Because originally, I think it was brought forth as a resolution, but because it's land use, it has to be an ordinance. So I think that they'll bring forward in 2 weeks. So if you would like to revise your motion to address direction, that the commission would give direction to move forward with an ordinance to bring it forward at the next, Mr. Peters, the next commission meeting, sir? Okay, and the date on that is? Okay, so if you could revise your motion.
All right. I'd like to motion that we provide direction to our acting city manager, Mr. John Peters, to provide us with a documentation for moratorium on residential plan unit development beginning 1 July 2021 through 31 December 2021 at our next City Commission meeting on May 17th, 2021.
Okay, they're properly moved by Commissioner Sosa. Who seconded it? Second. Vice Mayor Bradford seconded that for the record. Okay, so we have, now that we have a motion and a second, we'll have discussion. Commissioner McCool will start it off.
Hallelujah. I am really proud of our city for doing this, for tackling this, because you're right. We've had contentious meetings. Part of the contention is that there is no clear-cut path forward on developing smart, and I want to thank you guys. I want to thank you, Mr. Peters and Mr. Paradise, for being open and for listening to the residents and the commission, how we're trying to get to where we're trying to go to. And I'm really proud of this. I'm proud of our city for doing this. I'm proud of us for moving forward in a smart manner. I spent 2 hours with Mr. Peters and Mr. Paradise last Friday on this, and it's good discussion. It's hard discussion, and I am personally happy. I'm happy for our residents that we're going to do this, and we are in control of how our city develops, not developers. And this is not a moratorium, and this is not an arrow shot at developers. This is a slowdown and a breath on responsible development. And as he said, the applications that come forth that are ready will go through, and this is only a moratorium, because I know some of my residents are listening tonight that couldn't be here, and I just want to say, this is a moratorium on single-family ARPUDs. This is not a moratorium on growth, period. We're not discouraging infill development. We're not discouraging commercial development. But this is so that we can stop and look at the beautiful land that we have in Deltona and move forward in a responsible manner. And I think our residents, for continuing to bring this up and showing up and speaking about this, this is how progress is made, with your voice. And I just want to thank the commission and our city for being open to this.
Okay, Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think I probably heard the answer through one of Commissioner McCool's comments, but is this affecting current applicants, or is it going forward to new applicants starting July?
if we have an application in before July 1 that is a complete application, that means the application, the development agreement, traffic impact analysis, and whatever else is required to be a complete application by July 1, they will be allowed to move forward. I think Mr. Paradise and I have discussed it. There are as many as maybe 4 projects that we know of that could potentially make it, more likely 2, but it's not a large number. If somebody were to start today to try to get an application in, it's highly doubtful that they could get a full application in by July 1.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner King? Okay. Vice Mayor?
Okay, one more step. How many current applications are in pending right now? And that's the first question. And number 2, the individuals that are in pending right now, do they have until July 1 to complete the application, or are they kind of grandfathered in and able to continue even if they don't have everything submitted by July 1? I mean, what do we have, 2, 3?
To answer your question, Vice Mayor, Ron Paradise, Planning and Development Services, we have 2 applications in that have not been found sufficient. So they are not eligible for review. I think one of them is going to quickly probably, figure out what they need to do to become sufficient.
And they have till July 1. Okay. And Mr. Peters, I just want to say thank you for listening. Just like Commissioner McCool said, for I'm going to say 3-4 years now, we have been telling people we're going by the guidelines. We're going by the guidelines. The only way we can fix this is we have to change this. And we kept being told it couldn't be done. And I want to say thank you, because not many people have courage to step up and say, yeah, we're going to do this and we're going to fix it. So I think on behalf of other residents and myself personally, I want to tell you thank you very much for listening to us up here and the residents as well. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone that signed up to speak for this portion?
Albert Bryan and James McCauley.
Albert Bryan, Deltona. I'm not big on moratoriums. I'm really not. But this is one I can actually back for once. But, you also have to remember that I don't want it to be for naught. Because if you don't take and actually set this up properly, then basically what you had here a couple of weeks ago can come in here and say, oh, we're still only building 2 houses per acre, which is the biggest bunch of BS I've ever heard. But because he's talking about gross acreage, he can come in here and say that. So I'd be very, 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 very careful how you look at this. I'm all for the moratorium for one reason only. Gives that man over there and that man over there time to actually review and set y'all up properly. But, Mrs. Bradford, at any time, you could have stepped up and did what I did 2 weeks ago. You really could have. Matter of fact, during that meeting, you could have stepped up and said, we need to take and actually look at this in a different way. But did you? No, I don't remember hearing that. I really don't. And that goes for any of y'all sitting up there. And Mayor, you've been here how many years? Almost 10 now. And you could have had a chance any time during those 10 years to say, whoa, hold on. But no, I don't remember hearing that at all either. It took a citizen to stand up and basically slap y'all up against the freaking head and say, it's time to stop. It's time to change. It really is. And here again, I'm not a person for moratoriums. I have never, ever been for moratoriums, because to me, it's stupid. If you can't take the time over the years that y'all have been on here to step up to the plate, I don't think you ever will.
Thank you, sir.
Jim McCauley, please.
Good evening, everybody. Jim McCulley, 920 Gage Avenue. I would like to voice not only my support for the moratorium approving any more RPUDs, but the support of the residents of Fairview Estates located on the west side of Howland Boulevard, where thankfully the commission did not approve its development into one. With this most important pause, we hope that the commission will realize that virtually every proposal for these RPUDs have been totally opposed by the district, city commissioners of those areas, and the residents of those districts. Unfortunately, commissioners have gone against their fellow commissioners and the residents to approve these unwanted RPUDs that are literally destroying the large tracts of land that are supposed to be protected as stated in the Comprehensive Growth Plan and the future land use statutes. In almost all the presentation, the arguments made by the representatives, attorneys, and our very own development staffs have almost been word for word the same. It fits within our comprehensive growth plan and is needed to fill Deltona's obligation to provide housing quotas that, as a note, have been met as presented in arguments of the past. Most importantly, maybe the commission will review the process, starting with the Development Review Committee, one made up of unelected members, where all these are first presented to enforce the fact that the bulk of these properties are not zoned for this type of development. Unfortunately for the residents, the City Commission is known for rubber stamping approval regardless of resident and commissioners' objections. These recommendations for approval are coming from our very own staff. Again, are unelected and are employees of the City of Deltona that are making decisions and recommendations that for all apparent reasons are against what the residents of Deltona want. Who are these staff? What are their qualifications? What interaction are they really having with residents and commissioners when evaluating these requests? These issues need to be addressed immediately by the commission when they first come before the Development Review Committee for input and feedback, giving the district commissioners a chance to investigate and interact with the constituents they represent. This is crucial in stopping developments before it goes any further for the benefit of the developer and, more importantly, the residents. There is no legal repercussions in saying it's not zoned for this type of development, and the city cannot give approval for moving forward until a thorough review and input from the community, the Planning and Zoning Board, and the City Commission is completed. As somehow the Comprehensive Growth Plan and future land use statutes can be changed to meet immediate needs, this city and the commission need to rewrite the authority of the Planning and Zoning Board's authority to make their input and decisions legally binding, and if turned down at that point, never presented for approval before the City Commission. But again, this Development Review Committee needs to be reevaluated for their ability to allow any type of development to move forward without input from residents, the Planning and Zoning Board, and the district commissioners and the residents. Incredibly, with all the facts presented at this last meeting pertaining to the Osteen development, we question how only 4 members, elected officials who run on representing the residents, who are entrusted with decisions that directly affect residents in a very negative way, can ignore presented facts, who can override the meetings of compatible and consistent with surrounding areas and neighborhoods. A city attorney that will allow the commission to approve a development where the guidelines say that developments must meet all requirements. And if they fail to meet one, the commission cannot approve them.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Herzberg, that closes the public comment.
Since there's nobody else,
No, it was 4 minutes for everyone, I'm sorry. You can feel free to go ahead and send that. If you'd like to email it or leave a copy with the clerk and give it to us, that would be great. But our timer is at 4 and we have to be equitable. That's great, exactly, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much.
And I don't mean any disrespect to anybody. Thank you. And thank you for doing this.
Okay, that closes the public comment portion. So we have a motion to go ahead and move forward to bring an ordinance forward at the next commission meeting made by Commissioner Sosa, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Joyce, you're clear? May we vote, please? And the motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Peters. You and Mr. Paradise and the attorney will have to bring that all forward in 2 weeks. So we will now move on to item B, request for approval to replace the 2014 Ford F-150 4x4 extended cab ES 1517, cost of $33,255 for the enforcement services. Any questions on that, commissioners? Commissioner Sosa and Vice Mayor, then Vice Mayor.
I just have a couple quick questions. In the next 2 years, how many trucks are we going to be looking at replacing within the Code Enforcement Department?
Can you ask that again, sir?
In the next 2 years, about how many trucks are we going to look at replacing?
You will have a more thorough review of that when we do the budget. I do not have that information right offhand.
Okay. And are we looking to add, I guess this will come with the budget as well, if we keep animal control in-house and we hire more staff, are we looking at hiring or buying more vehicles at that time as well?
I'm hoping to utilize the same vehicles with multiple people that are on different shifts so that we can reduce the impact on the capital.
Okay.
With regard to added staff. So my intention is not to buy a vehicle per person as we move forward.
Okay. But if you have all the vehicles staffed right now and you add more staff members, you're going to have to add more vehicles, correct? At least one vehicle for every 2 new additional staff members.
If we move forward with what appears to be the coming recommendation, which will be 6 more officers, we would be able to double up on the existing vehicles and not have to purchase anymore.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Ramos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one question, Mr. Peters. I know we've spoken about this before as it relates to transitioning somehow some of our vehicles to electric vehicles. And I know there's a company out there called Lordstown. And I believe in the state of Florida, Orlando is going to be one of the first cities to have. And they're very comparable to the F-150. And I know we spoke about, as we look into the budget, I'm hoping this is something that we're looking into so that we can see how we start transitioning. Being in the TPO, that's conversation that's happening. Electrical vehicles are coming. And I think it would be nice for us to be in front of the curve here in the city of Deltona. Thank you.
Okay, if you have no more questions, commissioners, I have one. This is, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, did you? Okay, no, go ahead. Go ahead, you can make your motion.
No, I was just going to make a motion. I hereby move to grant approval to replace the 2014 Ford F-150 4x4 extended cab ES 1517, cost of $33,255 for the enforcement services. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of Scrivener errors and the like.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved by Vice Mayor Bradford, seconded by Commissioner Sosa. Is there any member of the public that wanted to speak on this? Okay, then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of that. And we have a motion and a second. May we vote, please? No, I'm good. And the motion passes 7-0. Next up, we have a similar request. We have a request for approval to replace a 2008 Ford Explorer 4x4 all-wheel drive CS0834 at the cost of $28,496 for the Construction Services Division. Have any comments by commissioners? Commissioner Sosa.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, I remember a few years back, the previous city manager had elected to lease certain vehicles. Are any of these vehicles in the building department or code enforcement on a lease, or do we outright own those?
Can you repeat the last part of that? Any vehicles in code enforcement and building?
Are they on a lease, or do we have the retail sale on them?
We go through a process where we sell them on gov deals, and we retrieve as much money as we possibly can. We are looking into alternative ways of disposing of vehicles to where we can get a larger return on our money.
Right, but the vehicles we currently have in our fleet, are some of them leased, or have we purchased them?
We have purchased them. We have determined in the past, our finance department did a detailed analysis, and it was determined that for us, it is far more cost effective to purchase them straight up rather than leasing them.
Okay. So we have no current vehicles in our fleet that are on a lease?
That is correct.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions, commissioners? Commissioner Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. If I remember correctly, a while back, I thought that we had agreed to go with leasing our vehicles instead of purchasing them, that it would save us money because the leasing includes maintenance and all that. Am I wrong in remembering that?
I think it was the maintenance portion of it, and we did a trial thing, was it in Public Works that we did a trial portion with that?
There was a trial period that was done, and as I said before, the analysis by the finance department was it was actually cheaper for us to purchase them and maintain them ourselves. We have a fleet operation that maintains our vehicles, primarily for the fire department and the larger equipment. And since we're already paying the salaries of those people, the cost, there really is no savings on the maintenance side because we're already paying for those employees. So when you do that analysis, purchasing our equipment is cheaper than it is to lease them.
Okay. But I think it was under Matt Doan, I believe. Matt came forward and brought that, that they were going to do that in Public Works, and there were like 5 or 6 vehicles that we did that with. Am I right, Mr. Peters?
That is correct, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought, and it was a trial thing, and that was like when Matt was Public Works Director, I remember that. And I know they did that internal analysis, I think, for like 2 or 3 years we did that for. So I have a question, Mr. Peters. We are replacing a 2008 Ford Explorer. Who uses this vehicle? Is it inspectors? Is it building officials?
It is inspectors, building officials.
Because it was my understanding that we had a brand new one sitting out there that our former building official never really used. So we have several vehicles sitting out there, and we go by it periodically. You can count all those vehicles that are out there. And am I wrong in that, or is that going to be redone to another department?
We have 2 Ford Expeditions. One was assigned to the building official, and one was assigned to the assistant city manager. Both of them were driven very little. So as we go through the budget, we will be reassigning those vehicles most likely to the fire department because they're the one department that has the demand and the need for an expedition because of the equipment they carry. They need a larger payload area in the back. So we, in fact, had budget review with the fire department this morning, and we have already figured out where they will be assigned to. They are in the process of they're going to take a look at the vehicles and make sure that it works for them, but we will be reassigning those. And the key here is fire department, building, all general fund, so it's coming from the same funding source. It would be inappropriate, for instance, for me, I believe, to take money, a vehicle that was purchased with general fund money and put it over into an enterprise account like Deltona Water.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Just wanted that clarification. Okay, is there anyone from the public that wanted to speak on this? No? Okay, then we'll close the public hearing portion of that, and we're going to need a motion and a second.
Madam Mayor, I hereby move to grant approval to replace a 2008 Ford Explorer all-wheel drive 4x4, cost of $28,496 for the Construction Services Division. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Second.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner McCool. Was that you, Commissioner Sosa, that seconded? And seconded by Commissioner Sosa. May we vote, please? Motion passes 7-0. We'll move on to item D, is a request for approval to replace 18-year-old playground at Dewey Boster with an ADA accessible and inclusive playground. Is Mr. Peters? Is there any? Commissioner Ramos, sorry.
Madam Mayor. Just a very quick synopsis here. This is a project that was in the budget. The last two items and this one are items that in the past the commission never would have seen because the position was that if it was in the budget, regardless of cost, as long as it was below the budgeted amount, the city manager would proceed with having the work done. As we had changed the policy and our purchasing policy and following it to the letter, these items come to the commission, and as you have seen with the discussion on the trucks, there are oftentimes questions, and it's good to have those dialogue. This particular item is to replace antiquated park playground equipment. It's becoming difficult to find replacement parts. It's not ADA accessible, and so this new playground equipment is budgeted, it's ADA accessible, it's newer to where we can properly maintain it.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Ramos?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Peters, that's the playground on the front end by the ball field, correct?
So I didn't catch that.
That's the playground up by the ball field up front.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
Well, before I make a motion, I just want to say thank you guys very much, because I know it was brought up a few years back on the need to have that ADA accessibility and how many children weren't actually allowed to use the playground because they weren't ADA accessible. So thank you for getting that done. Again, I move to approve the replacement of the current playground at Dewey, Boster with an ADA accessible and exclusive playground. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of Scrivener errors and the like.
Second.
Okay, properly moved by Vice Mayor Bradford. Commissioner Vasquez, were you the second? Or was Commissioner McCool? Seconded by Commissioner McCool. Is anyone signed up from the public? Okay, we'll close the public hearing portion of this. May we vote, please? And the motion passes 7-0. We'll now move on to item E, which is a request for approval of the renewal of the interlocal agreement for distribution of proceeds of the local option fuel tax. The agreement allocates the 6-cent and 5-cent local option fuel tax imposed by Volusia County to the county and participating municipalities annually based on a ratio of lane miles of public roads. Mr. Peters, this is you.
Yes, ma'am. This agreement is the culmination of a long series of discussions between the managers at the county level and the managers at the city levels. This agreement, from a manager standpoint, was approved by everyone but the Daytona Beach city manager. Reason being is under the current funding formula, Daytona Beach got significantly more money because of the tourism element. As we progress over the next 5 years, we will be transitioning to strictly lane miles. This will be based on how much actual roadway you have to maintain. We determined that it was the most equitable method of doing this, and the county is okay with it. This particular agreement, with your approval, will be forwarded back to the county, and we will begin the process of modifying the distribution of the tax money to the point that in 5 years it will be 100% based on lane miles.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, do you have any questions? If not, a motion. Let's see, who do we have? Commissioner Sosa.
Yes. What is the projected revenue for Deltona on the gas tax moving forward with this process?
Give me 1 second.
I saw percentages, but no dollar signs.
It's like $2 million year one.
Unfortunately, I do not believe we have the dollar amount. We have the percentage. After 5 years, Deltona percentage would be 9.928%, roughly 10% of all the dollars involved. It is and if you look at the first year on this agreement, We have 9.5, so you can see that we will get about 0.5% more money over the 5-year period, but I do not have the actual dollar.
The dollar amounts should be here on your last page on this sideways slide, if I'm not right. It is Deltona 9.528%, $2,112,420. Year 2, 9.628%, which is $2,134,97. 9.728 is in year 3, which is $2,100,056, and then 9.82, which gives $2,178,000. It just goes up there. And finally, at 9.928, it's $2,201,000. And what you'll find interesting is a lot of those dollar amounts don't go up significantly.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're very welcome. Did you find it, Commissioner?
Yes, but even with my glasses, I can't.
I know, it's sideways and it's small. No. Commissioner Ramos?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to approve the sign and the renewal to include automatic adjustments annual based on the ratio of lane miles of public roads to the interlocal agreement of distribution of proceeds of local option fuel tax September the 1st, 2021 through August 31st, 2034. The acting city manager has the authority to make any corrections of scrivener errors and the like.
Second.
Second.
Well, there was a chorus. Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Ramos, seconded by, was that you, Commissioner McCool?
No.
But it was Commissioner King. Pick one.
Commissioner King.
Okay, we'll give that one to Commissioner King for the record. Is there anyone in the public that signed up to speak for this? No? Then we'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting. And may we vote, please? And the motion passes 7-0. And just for the record, this has gone on a long time, and I commend Mr. Peters and all of our management staff over time for agreeing to the lane miles formula. It is significant, and it is a significant win for us, as we have, 511 miles of highway, and then I think it's 33 miles of county road we take off of that. We still have that we would maintain as 70 some miles of roadway, which is a lot. So thank you, and very significant. We'll move on to item G, which is a request for approval of a work order number 8 for the inspections and cleaning of the ground storage tanks from CROM Coatings and Restorations, the division of CROM LLC, for contracted as needed repairs and modifications to the ground storage tanks per RFP number PW 18-09. Is this you, Mr. Paradise?
No, it is not. I'm kind of, I think we had the impact fee.
Did I miss one? Did I skip one?
Yeah, skipped F.
Oh, man, sorry. It jumped, and I guess you guys jumped, and I wasn't reading blue. Sorry. Okay, request for approval to enter into, this is item F, to enter into an agreement with Duncan Associates to provide service related to a comprehensive impact fee study for transportation, parks, law enforcement, and fire rescue at a total cost of $48,900. Mr. Paradise, I apologize, this is significantly important.
No problem. Ron Paradise Plan Development Services. This is part and parcel to the required 5-year update. The last update to the city's impact fee ordinance was in 2017. So we're gearing up here for impact fee update that'll probably take effect on or before 2022. And we're asking that the City Commission approve the contract with Duncan Associates for $48,900.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner McCool?
Yes, I just want to, when would this be completed? How long will this take, this impact fee study?
It'll probably take anywhere from 6 months to a year to complete.
Okay. Do these, because I've read through this, so I just want to make sure. These impact fees, they also, they go with like our development also, right? When we're talking about for transportation, parks, law enforcement, okay? So is it possible that these be done while this moratorium is being done so that we can take a look at these two in conjunction with one another. That's 6, 7 months now, right? We're in April, May, June, July. If we start now and approve this, then is it feasible, understanding the importance, that we should have these back by the time this moratorium is over with, or in conjunction with that study or your white paper? Am I asking a lot?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a little bit aggressive. I think it's important to keep in mind that impact fees, are kind of sensitive matters, and it's important for a local government when it comes to impact fee increases to sit down and study and fully understand the requirements for updates to impact fees and potentially increasing impact fees. Like I said, we want to minimize the exposure for challenge to the city.
And I get that, but also developers have been handed a big win as far as what the cap is for impact fees, and we're going to have to look at that over the next coming years also. I just want to make sure that we are as aggressive with this as we, and I know that you have a lot on your plate getting ready for this, but I just want to stress how important this is, because as it is my view that the developers have the upper hand now with what we can impose as impact fees. I understand that it needs to be studied carefully, but we also need to not necessarily have the upper hand, but understand what our remedies are also when it comes to our transportation, our parks, because we're talking about our quality of life here. So that's all I'm saying.
Understood.
Understanding the importance of this, would like to see it aggressively pursued so that we have that when we get ready to talk about development again. They go hand in hand.
Understood.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yeah, I don't remember the Senate bill that just passed, but like House Bill 337, where it was supposed to put a cap on the impact fees. I believe that's what you were touching base with, Commissioner McCool. Now, I know there was an amended version. I didn't get a chance to read it. Are we still limited at 3% increase on impact fees annually, or did that get changed?
I don't know the limitation on the impact fees. I will say this, and just to kind of harken back to something we talked about in the context of the moratorium, there is a pretty significant body of law that manages or preempts, I guess is a better way of putting it, some degree of local government control over how impact fees are administered, charged, or assessed. And, part of that preemption, again, is going to bleed over into how the city manages growth and development and so forth through its, I don't mean to go back and revisit that. We're going to be talking a lot about that in the future, but like I said, I think it's important to keep in mind that, impact fees, the state has limited a lot what local governments can do with regard to impact fees. And, putting a cap on it is just, another way to do just that.
Like, I'll have to go back and revisit this, but I remember when I first read it, they were putting a 3% cap annually on it. I'm not sure if that's gotten changed.
And I do not know the answer to that question.
But if they did do a 3% cap on it, are we going to do something like we did with our water bills, where we're going to add just 3% increase on property tax or impact fees annually, instead of waiting 5 years, no increase, and all of a sudden we need 15%, we're stuck with 3%?
Mr. Sosa, if I can address that. The legislature did pass legislation regarding impact fees you're referring to. When I walked into the chambers this evening, I was informed by an intrepid citizen that was keeping track of it that the governor vetoed the bill.
Oh, he did veto it?
I'm going to confirm that tomorrow, but I was told that the governor vetoed it.
Thank you.
Commissioner McCool? Are you still on the board?
Yeah, last thing, I just want to say that with the award, and I understand that the consultant understands the severity of what they're doing, right? But I just want it to be said that in awarding them this, I personally don't want to leave any meat on the bone and no stone unturned, because we are limited with what we can do, you know, with our impact fees.
That is certainly the intent, that this study will be thorough.
Okay, is there anyone from the public that
Mayor?
signed up? Yes.
Can I address something
Yes.
I think is very important here? While we are looking at impact fees, the road impact fees are for city roads. The county has impact fees for the county roads, and a lot of the controversy that we have had of recent have been regarding county roads. And if you all have kept track through the years, the county council has shown great reluctance to dealing with the impact fees. You know, it's important that they understand that, you know, these developments are having significant impact on county roads, and that they need to address the impact fees on those so that they can afford to update some of these roads.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. And no one from the public has signed up to speak. We'll call.
We apologize.
Albert Bryant.
Albert Bryant, Deltona. The citizen that Mr. Peters is referring to is myself, and what I actually told him is that it is a possibility that the governor is going to veto this, because he has almost 90% of the counties and cities in the state of Florida recommending a veto on it. The issue, if he doesn't veto it, is the problem that it retrofits back to January 1st of this year. And actually, Mr. Sosa, the 3% is not annually, it's per 5 years. So what worries me about all of this is that we're just now starting on this. So what this company may or may not decide for your impact fees may not matter at all. So it may be a waste of $48,000. Now, that being said, am I for this? Absolutely. Do I think impact fees need to be increased for everything across the board? Of course I do. The reason why is because we all know that development does not pay for itself into the future. Period, full stop. And yet y'all keep, you know, vetoing or going ahead and not vetoing. These are PUDs. So in other words, what you're doing is you're putting more stress on every county road, you're putting more stress on every city road, you're putting more stress on this officer over here and all the other officers like him, you're putting more stress on every fire department in the county and city. And will impact fees make any kind of impact? Oh, hell no, it won't. You know why? It's a one-time fee for one house or one commercial building. Think about that. A small one-time fee that's going to last a lifetime for that house. How many houses do we have in this place? Oh, that's right, close to 36,000 houses. How many of them were built in 1963? Oh, that's right, a few thousand of them. Oh, and what do we got? Oh, that's right, sewer that's failing because impact fees weren't adequate enough to think 50 years into the future. And once again, we're looking at impact fees that won't look 50 years into the future. They think maybe, oh, let's see here, impact fees. Let's see here, 1 year. That's what impact fees actually take into account for, 1 year. So when you build a new house and you pay an impact fee on it, that helps your city, your county for 1 year. Nothing else past that. So every person out here who pays property taxes, oh, and that's right. Our city is 80% residential tax base, 12% business tax base. So who pays to fix our roads? We do. So if you don't actually look at your impact fees and look how grossly impassionate they are to fixing things here, y'all need to step the hell down.
Thank you, sir. That closes the public comment portion for this. So we need a motion, a second. Commissioner Sosa?
I hereby move to approve entering into an agreement with Duncan Associates to provide a comprehensive impact fee study for transportation, parks, law enforcement, and fire rescue at a total cost of $48,900. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of Scrivener's errors and the like.
Second.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Sosa, seconded by Commissioner Avila Vasquez. May we vote, please? And the motion passes 7-0. Now we'll go on to the one I already read. Item G, request for approval of work order number 8 for the inspections and cleaning of the ground storage tanks from CROM Coatings and Restorations, a division of CROM LLC, for contracted as-needed repairs and modifications to the ground storage tanks per RFP number PW1809. Mr. Peters?
Yes, ma'am. This is work that's required by the Florida Administrative Code as part of our ongoing water program. The cleaning ensures quality water. It also ensures the increased life expectancy of the tank itself. And we're recommending that we award the contract. And it's also budgeted.
Okay, Commissioners, do you have any questions on this item? If none, do we have any members of the public that signed up to speak for this? I just have one question. Yes, ma'am.
Brandy White, Deltona. I just wanted to know, I noticed that it said extensive. Is that the word that it said? No, via a competitive purchasing process. Can we know how many bids and how the process worked? Thank you.
Mr. Peters?
CROM is the original manufacturer of the tank. They have a itemized list of work that they perform, and it is utilized by multiple utilities for this type of work, so it's a negotiated price more so than a bid.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? And we'll close the public portion of the hearing. So we need a motion and a second for this item. Yes, ma'am. Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Is this going to affect the residents when these tanks are being cleaned out?
Can you ask that again? I'm sorry.
Is it going to affect the residents when the tanks are going to be cleaned out?
No, ma'am. We have adequate redundancy in the system, so while the cleanup work is being done, that particular portion of the system will be shut off so that they were able to clean and disinfect after the cleaning, and then when we put it back online, it will be clean water that meets all the requirements.
But it would not stop the water flow? Residents will still be able to use their water?
The residents would still be able to use the water. We have a valve where the water plant comes out into the system. We will shut that valve off to isolate that plant.
Okay, thank you. May I make a motion?
Okay, go ahead.
I hereby move to approve staff to proceed with work order number 8, authorizing expenditures for as-needed repairs and modifications to the ground storage tanks to city properties as presented. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of grievance, errors, and the like.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Avila Vasquez, seconded by Vice Mayor Bradford. May we vote, please? And let's see, everybody's good? No? And the motion passes 7-0. And now we are going to move on to the public forum portion of our hearing.
Sean King, please, and Richard Bellick. Sean King.
All right, so I apologize for my delay. I'm Sean King, address 815 Tangelo Avenue, Orange City. So thank you for allowing me to come in front of you today. You guys should have received an email that I sent you to you guys, and I'm here on behalf of the NAACP. We receive a lot of complaints, and we have to figure out how to address these complaints. I came to you in the end of November about a specific complaint in regards to the appointment of the acting city manager. And since that point, we received 3 additional complaints. Upon receiving those 3 additional complaints, I went to Richard Adams and I expressed to him these complaints that I received. And it led me to ask him and the city for a copy of the files for Mr. Peters and Mr. Cooper, just to compare the 2. We paid for and received those files, and I also received a letter from one of the complainees, and their complaint was not in the file that we received, which was very alarming. I passed this on to you guys for you guys to review, and we did not receive a reply the first time we came before you, and we want to receive a reply from someone on this panel in regards to the allegations that were made, what was being done, and where do we go going forward. As president of the NAACP, we have a responsibility to answer the complaints. We're not any legal firm, we just hear from the community. A lot of times we only act on discriminatory practices. But in this particular situation, we have allegations of discriminatory actions, we have allegations of sexual misconduct, we have allegations of bullying. And you guys are fully aware of this issue. And sometimes I have to evaluate when people come to complain to me that this is a disgruntled employee. And sometimes you have to evaluate that and say it's a write-off. But this particular complaint was written by the city HR manager for the city of Deltona. And he asked you guys a question. And I'm very curious to hear what was your response to his question of these allegations. As we investigate, we hear more allegations. We have some existing employees who are scared or afraid to come to us in fear of retaliation. And that's one of the complaints that was embedded in the argument that you have employees working for the city of Deltona who are in fear of retaliation. So if we have the HR manager give you guys these complaints, we gave you guys the inquiry, and you guys have failed to respond to us, and we want to know why. Going forward, we've got to figure out as a representative of the community, what do we do going forward? One of the things we first give you that question, ask you, what are you guys doing about it? We would love to work with you. If there's some training that needs to be done, we would work with you. But how do we address the people who complain to us? What do we do going forward? And that's why we need to hear back from somebody on this panel. I'm not going to go into detail because some of this things is very harsh, but next time I may, if we don't get a good response. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This has been addressed with our attorney.
Yes.
And there's been, the attorney has dealt with it, so if you feel free, you'd like to speak with Mr. Fowler at any point, feel free to do so.
But can we get something in writing?
You would speak with Mr. Fowler. He was in charge of that.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Richard Bellick, please.
If I ask a question, you're not going to get the police to escort me out, are you, Heidi? Here's my deal. I just had a good conversation with Webster Barnaby outside, and I was telling him about the Osteen deal with them houses and stuff, and he's made me a promise now that he would get in touch with the state attorney's office and have one of them contact me, because that 189 house deal should be investigated. Now, you just asked a question, Ms. Vasquez, will this affect the residents? You just affected the residents 2 weeks ago with your vote to put them houses in their backyard. What is it with you? I don't understand you. You,
sir.
Now, Mr. King, I wrote a thing. You apologized to these people for what they did to those 80 people? Like you said, 80 people. Not one was in favor of it. They voted for it, the 4-3. We all know why they voted for it. Come on. What are we? You think we're walking idiots? You ain't getting nothing out of it, right? Yeah, I know. And Santa Claus wears a blue suit, not a red suit. Now, Heidi, you've been very sarcastic with me in the past. Don't bother me at all. I just want to mention one thing, Heidi. You mentioned the name Matt Doan. Isn't he the gentleman whose wife made him quit because you were too friendly with him? Hello? No, I'm just making that up, right? Never happened, no. His wife made him quit because you were too friendly with him. I hope the state attorney's office does come, because I know there's a lot of scheming going on with these houses, and I hope that something happens. And I'm really shocked not to see anybody from Osteen here today saying that they're filing suit. That's depressing. That is really, really depressing. They'll come here and scream and come with their stories, but when they got to go in their pocket, you don't see them. Thank you, Mr. Peters, for what you did for my neighbors.
Thank you, sir.
Tell Matt if you see him again, Heidi, I said hello.
Mayor, that ends public comment.
Okay, thank you. We'll close the public forum portion of the meeting. Next, we're going to go ahead to our consent agenda. Do we have anyone that would like to comment on consent agenda items? Is there anyone that signed up for that?
Albert Bryant.
And which item?
Item A, admin grants.
Okay, so Mr. Bryant would like to, is he outside?
I think he went home.
Yeah, we can pull that. Are you ready, Albert?
Albert Bryan, Deltona. I'd like you to pull item A and just explain all the different things that are on item A. That's my only request on that.
Thank you, sir. Closes, anyone else on consent? Okay, that closes the public comment portion on consent agenda items. So item 11, consent agenda. We have multiple items on there. Item A is request for approval of the City of Deltona Community Development Block Grant CDBG Program, year 2020 to 2021. Item B, request for approval of resolution number 2021-21, adopting the Elkham Boulevard paved shoulders from Sylvia Drive to Fort Smith Boulevard lap supplemental agreement. Item C is request for approval of payment for Tyler Technology invoices for services related to our ERP software at a cost of $33,873.06. Item D is a request for approval of agreement with Cathedral LLC to provide printing and mailing services for utility billing as outlined in the contract. Item E, request for approval of an agreement with Avcon Inc. for the redesign of the Providence Boulevard shared use path western alignment between Alexander and Doyle in accordance with their agreement with the City of Deltona and RFQ number 18026 for the design and permitting of the LAP-funded Providence Shared Use Path. Item F, request for approval of the task authorization with ROCA controls for the installation of variable frequency drives and associated hardware at Lift Station 21 in accordance with their agreement with the City of Deltona and RFQ number PW 18-04 for supervisory control and data acquisition, SCADA system upgrades and maintenance. Item G, request for approval of the task authorization with BESH-Health, Inc. for the construction, engineering, and inspection services for the Group 1 water main replacement project in accordance with their agreement with the City of Deltona and RFQ number PW 2020-09 for on-call water and wastewater utility line engineering services. Commissioner Ramos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's no other commissioners who wants to pull out any item on consent agenda. I make a motion to approve item B, C, D, E, F, G under consent agenda.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Ramos for items B, C, D, E, F, and G, and seconded by Vice Mayor Bradford. May we vote, please? And the motion passes 7-0. Now we'll go to item A. Mr. Paradise, this is you. Commissioner Ramos, did you have specific, any questions for Mr. Paradise to start out on this item? No?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ron Paradise, Plan and Development Services. As per the agenda memo, we're looking at 2 bathroom replacements at 2 different parks, Manny Rodriguez and Firefighters Park at the Thornby Park. This includes the replacement of the surface at the all-inclusive playground facilities. Evidently, the surface of these are deteriorating. Finally, also there is ADA accessible sidewalk network at Firefighters Park that's going to get updated and constructed, and a basketball court, $48,000 for a basketball court at Firefighters Park.
Commissioners, you have all these items in your packet. Do you have any questions? Let's see. Vice Mayor.
CDBG HUD funds. Those funds, when I did some research on them myself last night, those funds are used for various items, basically for the community and to enhance, which I get the playgrounds do. And I know we've received a lot of funds this year from the state and federal as far as the services. Why are we allocating the parks, all of this fund, to the parks? Have we exhausted any assistance that would be needed right now out there in the community? And our social services that are currently assisting, do they have adequate funds to last, or is that not possible?
Some of those funds, just take CARES Act, for example,
right,
could not be allocated for playground replacement. Interestingly enough, a lot of these projects for the park upgrades and replacements were originally earmarked for public works projects for stormwater management. The HUD requires that there be timeliness in how this money's spent. Basically, an entitlement community cannot hold on to it for long periods of time. They want it out in the community to make improvements. So there's a great deal of readiness with these park projects, and the city can get much needed upgrades to its park resources and spend the money in accordance with HUD rules and regulations. And with regard to public services, you know, these entities and groups out there have been taking advantage of some of this CARES Act and other stimulus money coming down the pike. And we're going to be looking at HUD funding here for public services coming in July, later on this summer.
Can't say that I answered my question. So we recently had a meeting up here where we were discussing the assistance of repairs on roofs, repairs on homes, repairs on, areas out in the community that are in desperate need. And as I drive through some areas, I still see some blight homes in some places. So we're not allowed to reach out to them, correct? It just seems every time we come up, the CDBG funds and these are being put on our parks. Not that there's anything, totally wrong with the percentage of them being allocated towards parks, but, I think, I look at some other cities and, a couple years back I was at a nearby city where they were actually doing a HUD home and they were, I'd like to see us out there more in the community doing these type of projects. And I understand what you're saying is, right now we're on a time sensitive, we only have till October. What are we doing to plan for the future so that we're not always, it seems like we're always at this point of, well, we got to spend the money, so we're going to put it here. I want to see more funds out in the community. I want to see more funds out doing these home repairs, doing these in these areas that need this. That's what that money's for. And I get the parks are beneficial, but I'm guessing CDBG HUD funds, we should be throwing them more towards these homes in these areas that need them. And I don't know what type of outreach we can do or how we can do that, but this all goes back into social services. There's a lot of families out there in need, and some people don't even know that this money is available to even apply for it or get that. So that comes back on us. How do we communicate this to them? Because I think this is probably it's quite a few years that I've been up here that these funds are always being thrown at the same thing. And I get our parks need it, but so do we have some areas out there that need it as well.
Commissioner McCool?
I wanted to, on the heels of Vice Mayor's comments, these funds, when we go to use them for HUD or home improvement, is it our experience that we're simply having a hard time getting people qualified to be able to use those funds?
That is some of it. Other times, the lien requirements discourages some applicants that may qualify from participating in the program.
So I just because I've had residents write me about that also, about the money, and although we have latitude, is from my understanding over the last couple of years for these funds, the problem there again is with what the qualifications are from federal and state, not about, I would want to give all our residents all the money, but we are held to those qualifications, and even the CARES Act money, trying to get people qualified for that was a struggle also. I am in agreement that we, as we move along, need to work on our outreach. I know, like we do social media, I'm not an expert in that, but we're having a hard time getting people well, social media maybe, but we're having a hard time getting people qualified that we want to give, we beg, or giving, we have staff working on that, but they can't qualify, whether it be through household requirements or whether it be through income or documentation. We have someone to walk them through the process, but they are failing, the resident is failing to meet all the qualifications from state and federal. It's mountains of paperwork. So I'm with you, sister, and it's hard to get them to qualify for that.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Ron, am I to understand that there are other funds for what Vice Mayor and Commissioner McCool are discussing, fixing homes and helping residents with homes. There are other funds not associated with these funds that we are voting on today.
That is correct. Typically, a good portion of home repair has fallen under the owner-occupied rehabilitation for the state.
The SHIP.
The SHIP program.
Right.
Thank you.
So I am totally for the repair of these parks. One of these parks is in my district, and if somebody in a wheelchair was helped out of a car into the wheelchair, there's no way they can move that wheelchair into the park itself because that parking lot is all rocks and dirt. And I'm sure that even Mr. Peters has gotten emails from a local resident who has volunteered himself to fix the basketball court because it's in such horrible condition. So when you have a resident send out multiple emails and say, you know what, give me the paint, I'll paint it myself. So I agree with fixing these parks. We have, children playing there. Some of these cements are uneven because they break and stuff like that. So if we have other funds to help our residents with their home repairs and stuff, and these are extra funds that we can allocate to fixing our parks, I don't see anything wrong with that, Mayor. And if I may, if there are no other questions, I'd like to make a motion.
Go for it.
Thank you. I move to approve consensus A.
The request for the approval of the City of Deltona community, that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go ahead and just read that?
Okay, let's see, where is it here?
Since it was pulled, just to be clear.
Okay, I move to approve the request for approval for the City of Deltona Community Development Block Grant CDBG Program Year 2020-2021, relocation of funding.
Second.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Avila Vasquez and seconded by Commissioner Ramos. So let's have a quick discussion. Mr. Paradise. Upcoming year, we're getting about $600,000.
Correct.
Looking on the website for this coming year, so that's about $600,000. In accordance with federal regulations, the city may designate up to 15% of these funds for public service activities. We do that every year.
That's correct.
We allocate the entire 15%, which is about $90,000 for what you ladies are talking about, social service things. There's a 15% limit. Okay, we are the highest. Daytona Beach allows $35,000. That's it. $35,000, and they're an entitlement city, and they get about what we get. We do the entire 15% that were allocated. So there's no cheating or taking away from social services. And if you'll look at the last page, page 1 of 1 of your attachments, the one that says transfer funds for CDBG projects, we are going to look that we transferred $134,000 to increase the Thornby Park playground, $228,000 for the firefighters park, and $150,000 for Manny Rodriguez. You will then see where the decrease came from, correct, Mr. Paradise?
Correct, yeah.
We took $370,000 away from the Providence Normandy Boulevard. I'm going back to that. $125,000 out of Clear Lake, $890 Fairbairn, $10,000 out, 3rd Avenue, $2,000, and housing rehab, $5,000. Because we can't get people to qualify for housing rehab. There's CDBG funding, there's SHIP funding. I've been through this before, we all have. There are people here that are afraid to lien their house, period. For the free money, they're afraid. They're old, it's their only asset, and they're afraid to lien it. So I have a really hard time. So now that I've been on my tirade about that, because I want to be clear where this money is going. What did we do with the 370? Why did we take it from Providence and Normandy?
the projects were not ready to go forward. These park projects tend to be a little bit more simpler. These major stormwater projects are associated with a lot of front-loaded permitting requirements that all takes time. And, you know, I'm sure Mr. Peters can elaborate on that, but that's kind of the
Your commentary is fine. I'm good with that. I also know we got state money, did we not, for Providence and Normandy? We should have gotten some, at some point, some state funding for that. So I'm going to assume, bad word, that in 2021, 2022, we can allocate some of that $595,000 to Providence and Normandy if needed.
That would be a proposal that will be, you know, coming to the City Commission for a decision.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And I'm not cranky at you. I just want to clarify everything. Please don't take it that way. May we vote, please? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, sir. And now we are going to go on to, after we're done with all that, City Commission special reports and requests. Commissioner Vasquez, Commissioner McCool.
I just have a question for Mr. Peters. Were we not going to add the lighting project of Deltona Boulevard here to this meeting's agenda?
We're shooting for the 17th meeting. It was a little too quick to get it on this agenda, but we have an agreement with Duke, and we're planning to bring it on the 17th.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner McCool.
Yes, real quick here. I just wanted to report that I find it necessary and would like to give recognition here to our Parks and Rec staff while we're on that, and take a moment to thank them individually. So I'd like to thank Sean Toman, Tom Alisi, Sean Smith, Kevin Beauregard, Daryl Dethridge, Dave Harvey, Lorenza Hill, Charles Jones, Donna Klein, James Long, Miguel Perez, David Petrain, James Pitts, and Gerald Wasilewski. I know that I got that right. I just know in my heart. I want to thank you guys for everything that you do and how hard you work. I see them working tirelessly every day. I'll move on to Public Works, guys. I didn't forget you at my next one. And also, I have been meeting with Jerry Mays on an anti-littering campaign. We're going to clean this town up. And I will be calling on my fellow commissioners and Madam Mayor to support this. It's really, really needed. I think it's something that the community can get behind. As I've said before, littering is systemic of other issues that goes on in homes. It begins there. And I would also like to thank Volusia County Sheriff's Department for stepping up, monitoring our roads, because we have crazy people out there driving. We have had fatalities over the last month on our streets. We have had an increase, and maybe that I'm just seeing it in wrecks on our roads here. And I would like to make the special request that we keep the heat up on that, because we're having serious issues. Just today, coming down by Dewey Park, I had a motorcycle behind me on a sport bike. I love riders. I'm a rider myself. However, when you're popping a wheelie behind my truck and almost come down on my truck, that pisses me off. You know, it is irresponsible, and we need to step up our patrols here. Speed has become a real thing in our city. So if our deputies are listening, I would like for us to keep the heat on them. Speed, speed, speed. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, seeing no others, we'll move on to city attorney comments.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
City manager.
Just a couple things. Tomorrow night is the last of the code enforcement workshops that will be at the center. being hosted by the mayor, and I believe we're going to have a special guest in the form of the sheriff. I encourage everybody to come out. We have had not a huge turnout, but we've gotten some very good information. I would tell all of our residents that we have videotapes on Deltona TV of every one of these meetings. We also have a video on there, frequently asked questions, where we show the resident asking a question and then we provide the answer that I think is important for all of our residents to hear. There were some very good questions. We wanted to get the information out, so I encourage everybody to go on Deltona TV and take a look at the meeting prior to, and most importantly, the frequently asked questions section. Saturday, we have a major strategic planning meeting here, and I encourage everybody who is interested in the future of the city to come and participate. We are setting it up to be a lively discussion, and I really encourage everybody who cares about this city to come and participate. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, commission comments. Commissioner King? You trying to break a record tonight? Commissioner McCool? Commissioner Ramos? Come on, we got two.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just, going back to the code enforcement workshop, I think the one that we had over for our district in West Carr was something very positive. And in speaking to Mr. Peters today, it was interesting because the Chapel Drive community in their webpage tries to have an FNAQ. Normally, a lot of the questions that are being asked and responded, I know they gave that to Ron. And in speaking to John, I understand that we're working on that, and I think it was important because a lot of the times we're seeing a lot of stuff in social media when they should just be calling the city or have a page in the city that has those frequently asked questions to be responded. The one last thing, and I hesitated as I sat here, but I think I can't speak for everyone else, but I think I definitely need to get it off my chest. I think today, as we started the meeting, we moved on something that has been very emotional. There's a lot of folks up here on that dais, and I think we did it the way it was supposed to be done. And I'm going to refer to our last commission meeting. I think just last month we had a decorum policy workshop. And it's unfortunate and sad that I think, and I said this the last time as well, that we are supposed to be the examples, and people are going to feed on how we behave. And it's sad that we get attacked on this dais by our own colleagues. Now, if you want to get someone to, and I can't speak for anyone else, but if you want to get someone to run against me, by all means. But to use the dais to behave the way that some of us behave and then say, I'm sorry, it's like I used to tell my students in high school, once you take that toothpaste out, it's out. If you read the paper, again, it was on the paper again. And I think it's kind of like a little bit disrespectful for some of us. It's okay to disagree, but let's agree to be respectful to each other. Because the last thing is, I might not agree with you, Commissioner Dana, but I don't think I should have the behavior that some of us had on this dais against you up here. Because at the end of the day, we're going to need every single one of us to be able to continue to head the city where it needs to be. And again, I think we started in a very good, it took some, like some folks in the audience said, maybe it took some folks out here, whatnot, but I think we went through the protocol and through the process that as commissioners and mayor, we should be doing by working with our city manager. So to me, I just feel that, you know, it's easy to come up here and behave like whatever, and then say, I'm sorry. And then we don't even talk to each other. I think it's time for us to really start reflecting who we really are and what we represent in this city. Thank you.
Commissioner Vasquez?
I just want to once again send out my deepest condolences to former Commissioner McFall and his family. We attended his service, her service, and it was a beautiful service. And again, our deepest condolences go out to them.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody that came out Saturday morning to our District 6 Town Hall with code enforcement. I thought we had a lot of good feedback from the residents, and I look forward to holding more town halls and getting more and more residents to these town halls. Thank everybody that came out.
Vice Mayor Bradford? Good? Okay.
I just want to make sure that we are going to be reaching out to the NAACP with our findings. Mr. Attorney? Sorry? I just want to make sure that you are going to have a meeting set up with the NAACP to go over our findings. I want to make sure you're going to be going over the NAACP findings with them. Thank you.
I've got this card, and I'll be in touch with him within this week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I just have one item that I would like to talk about, and I would like to ask for some advice on. So a few weeks ago, we had a City of Deltona administrative policy and procedure on establishment of a computer and network usage and security policy and social media policy. And we all signed it, got copies, city manager, all of us signed this. So here's my question. This past weekend, somebody, not inside this city, no elected official, tagged me on a post on social media. Was somebody that is someone that I know, and so I looked at the post, and the post concerned a dog and some allegations about where the dog lived and the dog's status and so forth. And I wasn't the only one that was tagged on that post. And as time went on, the post started rolling and more things started going. It was late at night on a Saturday. And the woman that posted about this dog sent the address of where this dog was living and having issues or perceived issues according to this situation. And as time went on, a member of the community drove by to look where the dog was. No staff, didn't send staff, nothing like that. It was somebody that was on this thread and had also been tagged. And as time went on, more and more people commented, and it got meaner and nastier, and it went on and on and on. And I never commented once on that thread. And I emailed the city manager with the information that I had as people were posting pictures. Then apparently somebody that was related to the dog, whether it was the dog's owner, someone living in the house, who knows who it was, went after the person that was doing the posting, and poof, the posts are all removed now. Now, in this particular thread, and this is not unique, this is a general thread, people that got tagged, such as myself, got beat up. Oh, nothing was done. Sent somebody out, nothing happened. Happens all the time. I don't comment on those things because as the post went on and the thread got longer and longer and longer and collapsed and all that, somebody told me that another member of our commission commented on that. Couldn't find it, but somebody told me that another commissioner had commented on this post, which by this point had referenced another dog and went off the rails on other stuff. So my question, I don't care if Mr. Peters answers this or the city attorney answers this. We went through ethics training. Most of us on this dais had ethics training, and social media policy was one of those things. Discussing social media was one of those things and how it affects the Sunshine Law. For those of us that are elected officials on any board in the state of Florida, and also advisory boards where you are subject to Sunshine Law, I don't comment on those things simply because of what happened on whatever day it was, Sunday, where you have these collapsed comments and you have other people on your same board commenting. So my question to you is, what I thought about doing is putting a blanket statement up on my social media that says, You can tag me, whatever you want to do on that, but I'm not commenting on threads. And I want to say this publicly, because of the risk of sunshine law violations, because I will guarantee you that whole thread was screenshot by somebody or by multiple people before the admin pulled it off the page. And it's unfortunate that those of us on the dais may get beat up for something that we said, that we didn't do, that we said, perceived, whatever. But we shouldn't be commenting on that, at least in my perspective, because of the sunshine law problem. And this, at ethics training, this man specifically, this attorney said that that had happened with collapsed comments, and it might be 6 months down the road. And somebody else comments on that, and it can be used. Commissioner, you were there, we know that whole thing. So my question is it appropriate, for example, for myself, to put a statement on my social media saying, thank you very much for tagging me on these things. I will read them, but I'm not going to comment on this type of a thread due to the fact of sunshine, because these things don't go away unless an admin removes them. Or just leave it alone. That's the other option. But I feel like the public needs an explanation as to why there's no commentary back, why we don't comment on these things when we're tagged.
Well, you can certainly put on there that you don't comment. I wouldn't give reasons for why you don't, because the sunshine law requirements address those items that might come before the commission that you would vote on, whereas some of the topics might be a little ribald perhaps, but not things that would necessarily come before the commission. But certainly to engage in that type of discourse, there's only losers.
And that's why I wanted to state that publicly, because this thing went down such a rabbit hole. It could come back to our tethering ordinance. It could come back to any ordinance that we have, which this body would then be voting on. So to be clear, and I'm sure some of us comment, some don't. For me personally, I appreciate people letting me know what's going on, but I will not comment on those strings for this simple reason. And I'll figure out a way, Mr. Attorney, to maybe get that out there, but this is my platform for saying that this evening. I hope I'm clear. Okay? Yes.
Mayor.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
If I can jump in here, I was in the ethics class with most of you all last week. There's a second item that you did not address. The first one is the sunshine law, and as Mr. Fowler correctly stated, it applies to those items that have a likelihood of ever coming before commission. In the instance of the dog situation, if you were to be dealing with animal welfare, animal control, and what have you, there is a likelihood it would come forward. But the second element that you all learned last week is records. If you are commenting on social media, you have an obligation to maintain those records. So that if anybody makes a records request, any discussion you've had with regard to animal welfare, you better be able to produce that discussion. And as you said, if it's page after page after page, we don't know which part of it you were responding to, so you pretty much got to keep it all. And that gets very difficult, because what also is a problem is people have the ability to remove statements. So you have to get the record when you make the comment so that it is accurate to the time that you made the comment. What happens after your comment is immaterial. But those were the two elements that were discussed last week with regard to social media. Is it something that can come up before the commission? Best not to have two commissioners responding in any way, shape, or form, and that includes thumbs up or thumbs down or smiley faces or whatever. And then the second part of it is the records, and that is probably the most problematic to maintain those.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Since you put out the question, and I was just going to also mention what Mr. Peters mentioned. This was something that was covered during the ethics training, and if I remember specifically, we were told, stay out, do not comment. You know, I mean, I have my own personal Facebook, but this is for my family and my friends. We talk about birthdays, we talk about family things, but when there's a question about city matters, even when they call me on my personal phone, I always say to them, please call me on my city phone or send me an email on city email, because I want your comment to be private, public records. So if you need to go back, you can always request a copy of this. So, and it's something that will protect us, but it also will help the person who's making the complaint, because once it comes to us via city, it is public records. So to answer to me personally, to say I will not make comments, I don't think you should even do that, because you are already putting yourself on the string of the conversation. I mean, that's my feeling.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. And I'd also just like to say thank you to our clerk and staff. You guys do it's a hard job. And thank you very much for everything that you do. And Mr. Peters, I just want to commend you. This agenda had a lot of things on here that we haven't seen in a long time. It had contracts that had consent, and I really appreciate all this being brought forward. And thank you, everyone, for being here. We are adjourned.